All right, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome back. Welcome to the Andre Duke Show, where I am your host on this fine Wednesday, March 4th. Appreciate everybody tuning in. But first things first, we'll get it out of the way. Sponsor. Go see our friends in Portland, Indiana, Williams Auto Parts, Rocky Heath, been in business since 1951, 4 generations. Appreciate those guys down there in Portland, located on South Detroit Avenue in Portland, Indiana, just off Highway 27. If you're looking for new or used auto parts, give Heath a call. They can help you up, especially if you're a fix-it-up mechanic yourself. They can help you. Their phone number is 260-726-8001, and you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and all those places. But as we open the show tonight, and I'll get to the phone lines here in a minute, the phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069. Dial that up if you want to talk some ball, tons of college hoops on tonight. Phone lines will be open. I think we'll go 40-45 minutes tonight, so get them in and get them in early. I don't know really how a lot of people feel about this, but especially being a kid that grew up in Indiana. Today, if you didn't know, Lou Holtz passed away at the age of 89. An iconic football coach, an iconic man, led Notre Dame to their last national championship, and his impact, the motivational speaking, is deeply going to be missed. Lou Holtz, 33 years as a head coach, 249 wins. He was at Arkansas, he was at South Carolina, and he was at the University of Notre Dame. And I think that it's kind of surreal. And then he went and did TV, which he was great at that. Lou Holtz will be deeply missed for a kid who grew up in Indiana. Lou Holtz was larger than life. You see everybody that Notre Dame fans and everything the like, just unbelievable, the support and all the players throughout the years, especially his tenure at South Carolina, I think goes not as recognized as the tenure at Notre Dame. It wasn't as successful. He had one of the greatest turnarounds in college football history. And that's what great coaches do. Just unbelievable. I couldn't believe the news whenever I seen it. There was a report earlier. It was that he had entered hospice care, and I think a lot of people know what that is. But we're here to remember the good times. Lou Holtz, R.I.P. Deeply will be missed by many. In my opinion, I think Lou Holtz is one of the top 5 in my view, in my college football viewing. Lou Holtz, top 5 most influential coaches. I don't see how he's not. I think a lot of people in this day and age, everybody wants to call Saban the GOAT and all of that, but Lou Holtz had a bigger impact than just football, in my opinion. So salute to Lou Holtz, just incredible football coach, incredible man. Thoughts and prayers with the Holtz family, and hopefully they can recover. So those are my thoughts on the passing of Lou Holtz. I think it's kind of one of those deals. Time isn't promised. So I got through that one. Kind of a somber day. to be completely honest. But also, we do have some college football news. Phone lines are open if you want to call, you want to talk Lou Holtz, you want to talk college football going international, we can do that here. Number to call, 260-255-4069. It's also on the ticker below if you want to call in, but we'll go over whatever. We will talk about whatever you want to talk about. I think that's very, very interesting stuff with the Kansas and Arizona State. I guess they're going to play at Wembley. I don't know. Like, I don't know what college football's doing with this. I don't think college football deserves to be played internationally. It's too much of a niche sport, to be completely honest. I'm just not on board with it. I can't get behind college football. I mean, are they going to probably sell out Wembley? Yeah, because the people there will probably want to see what it is. I just don't see it. Not that I mean, this is a college football show, but what I'm saying is I don't subscribe to the fact that I think that college football going international is a good idea. I just don't. I think that for the most part, it just reeks of cash grab. And I mean, I get it. It is about money. I totally understand that. They have to make money. But at the end of the day, they got to know who their niche audience is. And for the two teams that are going, Arizona State in Kansas, sorry, I was blanking there for a second, but Kansas, it doesn't add, because one of those schools is losing a home game. And that's tons of revenue that comes out of the local economy. And you're not even putting that money back into, let's say Arizona State, and they wanted to do the remote thing, kind of like Nebraska and Cincinnati did. They played at Arrowhead. Like, it's not like you're moving it to an NFL stadium or an NFL city. Although what I think would be cool is I think the Saints should play a home game at LSU. I think that would be fascinating. Some people disagree with that, but for the large part in our country, the biggest stadiums are college stadiums. They're not NFL stadiums. That's what I look at. I just don't see the market. I don't see the niche there. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, come on over to YouTube and hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. That helps us grow the platform, grow the channel as well. But that's kind of where we're at the moment. But I just don't see it. A lot of spring stuff kicking off today. I believe South Carolina, their O-line coach was getting a ton of heat over the drills that he was doing. It's just fascinating, and I think the media outlets that are releasing the way too early top 25s, we haven't even got through spring ball yet. I just think that's fascinating. I don't know how you would know anything. The majority of you aren't watching practice. It's just very interesting, to say the least. I mean, some of the early teams getting a lot of buzz are Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Indiana. I think it would be fascinating to see a college football system with no rankings until they release the CFP. I think that would be fascinating. I think that would be a fascinating order of business, to say the least. I don't think that it would be harder for the TV networks to sell the advertising, because if there's no number behind it, you don't know. I think that's something to be said there, but I think it's interesting, to say the least. But um, it would be harder to sell it. And then also, I would like some feedback on this one. And I've talked about this a little bit. I mean, it can go both ways, but do the schools, Urban Meyer was talking to an attorney on his, I believe, Triple Option podcast, him, Mark Ingram, but Urban was doing a standalone interview, talking with I believe it was a labor attorney, and he was asking questions about collective bargaining. And I think that for the players, collective bargaining would be good. A collective bargaining agreement helps the 88th guy on the roster. Now, when you're the superstar Nova guy, I don't know how much that helps you, to be completely honest. Because ever since it's became NIL and pay for play, a lot of the coaches, they want all kinds of regulations on it. And I think it's fascinating that they want to put all these rules in place, but I think it muddies the water for me, to be completely honest, because you have to have coaches that are they've operated in a set of parameters, and they'll have to navigate. They would have to navigate the CBA and what they can and can't do. I think that would present problems for some coaches going forward, because that at some point you have to answer for somebody. And then is it going to be, are they going to have veteran minimums, senior minimums? Because if you bring try to bring in a senior, or a grad transfer that can make your roster, but he's not going to contribute, you bring the guy in that maybe be a role player. Do you have to pay him X amount of dollars, kind of like they do in the NBA and the NFL? Or a guy that could be a depth piece? I don't know. These are questions that in a CBA you would have to answer. And then, is it going to be a hard cap? Is it going to be a soft cap? I've heard rumblings out there that there's teams that are borrowing against next year and the year after that to pay for this year. How is that going to work out? What are you going to do? There's no regulation on the cap. The NIL Go system's a joke. I mean, the House settlement was what it was, but I think NIL Go is a joke. Deloitte is an accounting firm. You're just not going to be able to sell me that an accounting firm's going to tell me what Jeremiah Smith is worth, or what a backup player at a university is worth. I get it to a certain point that they want to get rid of the massive paydays for kids that are doing the autograph signings. But at the end of the day, what is that kid's signature worth? That's what you have to ask yourself. What is it going for on the internet? What is game used apparel going for? I'm surprised the universities aren't doing a better job of authenticating and doing all that stuff and selling it in the pro shop, kind of like the NFL teams do. Like every year I go to Pittsburgh, there's all kinds of stuff from the previous training camp: shorts, practice jerseys, pads. Not so much helmets, but there's very few helmets for sale. But they have all that stuff, and the NFL at least authenticates it. They have one of those people on site that put the sticker on it and record it and all that stuff. And I think some of the universities after big games have taken advantage of that, Vanderbilt being one of them. They dug up the goalpost out of the river, cut it up, and sold it. Indiana auctioned off Signetti's headset. They were selling pylons. They were selling all kinds of stuff, trying to raise revenue. I think Signetti's headset went for $112,000, if I'm correct. I don't know I don't quite understand what you do with that. And the TV contracts in 2030, I don't think from what each school's getting of the, like the SEC's getting 80 plus million. Okay. What happens when they put a CBA in and it's got to be uniform across the board to where, let's say the cap is 30 million. Well, when it comes to certain athletic departments, the ACC TV deal is not worth what the SEC TV deal or the Big Ten TV deal is worth. It's not worth the same. Each school's revenues are different on the TV side of things. So I think that presents a bigger challenge for it presents a bigger challenge for the schools that have a different set of parameters that they got to operate in. Wake Forest's athletic budget is not the same as Auburn's or Alabama. And let's be real here. Auburn went 5-7. They haven't had a winning season since 2009. And I about guarantee you their football revenue outweighs what the majority of the ACC, probably excepting Clemson, in revenues. Boston College is not operating on the same operating budget as, let's say, Notre Dame. They're not operating on the same parameters. Because if it's 30% of all revenue, well, if let's just say Pitt only makes 40 million and Alabama makes 80 million, how is that competing in the NFL? The cap's the same for everybody. That's, the way I look at it. The cap is the same for everybody, and the cap in college football is not the same because you have universities that aren't making as much revenue as the other sports or as the other schools. Excuse me. Take Indiana basketball, for instance. It hasn't been the greatest product ever, but they got a big win tonight. But when you look at it going forward, it's not operating on the same budget as maybe Gonzaga being in the Pac-12 or whatever they're doing, which I think the Pac-12 is unreal for allowing them to be a full member and get a full rev share without playing football. I think that's bizarre, but they need members to get accredited. So, but it makes it interesting to say the least. But also, phone line is open. Number to call, 260-255-4069 is the number to call. But also, what we got going on tonight, a ton of college hoops winding down the regular season. Arkansas bludgeoning Texas right now. They are turning them into ground beef. Maryland and Wisconsin going at it. SMU down to Miami. Miami a little bit better than what people thought. Jim Larinaga, the abrupt exit. And then NBA-wise, we have the Knicks down 10 in the third. So there's kind of that. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Also, if you want to do us the biggest favor and hit that like and subscribe button, that helps us a ton going forward. Appreciate everybody on that realm of it. So also, Coach Cal back in the plaid. Even though he doesn't have a tie on, I'll give him credit for wearing at least a sport coat. Buzz Williams sport coat. Those guys know how to do it right. I think the college basketball coaches should go back to the suit instead of this, or at least just very, very bizarre wearing slacks and a 3/4 zip up. Although I can't complain, I'm wearing a 3/4 zip up, but I'm also not on national television and the face of a major college basketball program either. So there's kind of that. That's kind of what's going on in the world. A lot of the debate about the 12-team playoff. Do I think we'll get that changed? Who knows? I'm not hopeful. Sankey and Petiti are so far apart on whether you can. It essentially, to me, it all comes down to the auto bids. And I don't think that Sankey's going to budge on the auto bid stuff, which realistically, I don't blame him. Because I think the committee could get it right if they would just apply themselves. I think they should use a mix of the BCS and the rankings, the eye test. That's just kind of where I'm at, but I'm not going to beat a dead horse on the college football rankings. I think they'll either figure it out or they won't, or we'll get stuck with the same system. And 10 years ago when it was 4, but what sparked the whole 12 team was Florida State getting left out. Let's be real. Florida State, Jordan Travis gets hurt. Florida State goes undefeated, wins the ACC, and they didn't put him in. That's why we have 12. The parameters of the new deal is Boise State got a bye. People hated that. And then it goes to this year. They put JMU and Tulane in. Did we really need to see Tulane and Ole Miss again? It was pretty much the same thing that we seen the last time. Also, I'm not taking a shot at John Summerall, Florida people. I'm not taking a shot at Summerall, so chill out. That's not reflective of him. He maximized a group of 5 program and got the most out of it he could. Or a team in the American. So we'll see. But I also wanted to turn the attention to, we're probably going to cut this one short. Phones are dead. So FBS schools with the most 10+ loss seasons. I think this is fascinating to say the least. UTEP with 21 10+ loss seasons. New Mexico State goes to show you how big Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill were there because they won 10 games a couple of years ago. Kent State, nobody's shocked by that one. Oregon State fell apart when Mike Riley left. When he left to go to Nebraska, I still think that's one of the most bizarre moves in college football. And then I think Mike Riley tried to come back. So it's just fascinating stuff there. Also, Eastern Michigan on this one. I think it's really hard to recruit Ypsilanti, especially when you're competing against Western. And this is just in your own state. You're competing against Western. You're competing against Central. And then you're competing against Michigan, which is the Big Ten. Then you're competing with Michigan State. So I think that's a tall task when you're a MAC school and you have other MAC schools in your state that are at the same level that you are. You got to be able to recruit up there. So kind of tough on Eastern Michigan. And then Kansas, Lance Leipold, I think, has done one of the most underrated coaching jobs in college football, turning Kansas from a completely dead program to where they were on the side of the road, basically with Les Miles. And after they got rid of Rick Majerus, and that was very controversial at the time, it set Kansas back big way. They turned to a couple other people, and then they had some Charlie Weiss in there, which that didn't work. And then they also had some Les Miles in there, and then they finally get to Lance Leipold, but 10 plus losing seasons. Then the University of New Mexico, Bronco Mendenhall was there for a while, and I think he turned that into a respectable program. And then the guy there now doing a great job. He had a win over UCLA this year, but that was during the Deshaun Foster era. So there's kind of that. Rice, the Owls, I don't know. Honestly, I think they could send Rice back to Conference USA, and you could put a couple of Sun Belt teams in the American, and I think it would be a better conference, to be completely honest with you. But that's just my opinion. And then Vanderbilt comes in with 10 loss seasons. I don't think that's a shock to anybody. I think it's a big deal what Clark Lee's doing at Vanderbilt. He lands Jared Curtis. I think Vanderbilt, as long as they have Clark Lee, could be there to stay, to be completely honest. So there's a little bit of that. And then next on the list, the Purple Cats, Kansas State. They didn't get good until Bill Snyder got there. Hopefully they can turn it around with Kellen Klein, the offensive coordinator from Texas A&M, former Kansas State quarterback. So we'll see. Temple, a lot of good coaches have came through Temple, to be completely honest. Jeff Collins, Matt Rule, Al Golden. Temple was one of the stepping stone jobs, because a lot of those guys that were the head coach at Temple moved on to bigger programs. Same thing that with the next team. Also, Temple 9 plus 10 loss seasons. Also, another team on this list, UNLV. So, very interesting. UNLV. Dan Mullen, Barry Odom. I think that's an interesting deal there. Also, we're going to be back. Richie going to be on the program tomorrow as well. We got, a myriad of other topics. I think that's going to be fascinating. I kind of like where that's heading, but yeah, it's just one of those things. And also the Bruce Pearl stuff, we'll go over that tomorrow. As I'm looking at some of the future topics of what we got going on, the Lou Holtz stuff, just, man, that's killer. Oh shoot, that was poor choice of words there. Also, coming out of Ole Miss, Kewan Lacey on a podcast on why he chose Ole Miss, he said, "I feel like we're building something special, and I trust Pete's going to lead us." I think that's big coming from him. Kewan Lacey, a big focal point of Ole Miss last year. I think that, and we'll end it here, I think that Kewan Lacey, I think if he has another duplicate year of last year, I wouldn't be shocked if Kewan Lacey's a dark horse to win the Heisman, to be completely honest. I really feel like Kewan Lacey could win the Heisman if everything goes right. And I think for Ole Miss, I know this is really early, but I think Ole Miss's expectation for next year is playoffs. I think if Pete Golding does a duplicate year or even just makes the playoff, I think it'll be outstanding for the Ole Miss program. But that third game of the year, Lane Kiffin comes to town, and boy, that's going to be, I feel rough for the folks that have to cover that game, the fans that are going to be there. I think that for the fans, hopefully everybody behaves. I would not want to be local police, the Lafayette County Sheriff and the Oxford City Police. That is a powder keg. I think that is going to be a nightmare to try to police that event and get that event under control. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Short, quick one tonight. Also, if you want to do us the biggest favor, if you're watching on Twitter, come on over to YouTube, do us the biggest favor, hit that like and subscribe button. That helps us a ton. If you want to contribute and help out the podcast, that's the best way to do it. And then also, if you're watching on replay, we'll be back tomorrow, Richie and myself, and then we'll have to see what Saturday and see what Saturday brings. Also, some Sharon Moore news. The female that was at the focal point of his deal, she was not re-signed by the University of Michigan. I know everybody colored me shocked. So there's kind of that. But also, we will catch you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a good night, and we will see you tomorrow. Appreciate everybody who watched and hung out with us tonight. Have a good night, everybody.